Welcome back, listeners. Today's episode of Mind Your Thoughts podcast is brought to you by our amazing sponsor, Podmatch.com. Are you a podcaster searching for your perfect guest or a guest looking for the ideal podcast to share your story? Look no further than Podmatch.com. Podmatch.com is the ultimate platform that connects podcasters and guests, making it easier than ever to find the perfect match. Whether you're a seasoned podcaster looking to spice up your content or a guest eager to share your expertise, Podmatch.com is the go-to destination. Gone are the days of endless searching and cold outreach. Podmatch.com's advanced algorithm takes the hassle out of finding the right podcast or guest for you. They'll even send you personalized recommendations straight to your inbox, ensuring you never miss an opportunity to collaborate. What's more, Podmatch.com is designed with your convenience in mind. It's user-friendly, intuitive, and completely free to join. That's right, you heard me correctly, free. So whether you're a podcaster or a guest, Podmatch.com is the resource you need to elevate your podcasting experience. So, what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description to visit Podmatch.com today and sign up for your free account. Connect, collaborate, and unlock a world of podcasting possibilities. Podmatch.com, where great podcasts and guests find each other.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Mark Combs, and every day we're shifting into a new mindset by minding our thoughts. Today is for the ladies. We have a special guest on. Her name is Patty Handy. She is a certified executive coach, a certified life coach, holds a real estate broker's license, and she is a published author of 4 books. After spending 20 years as a financial advisor and a mortgage advisor, she left her job to become a financial coach. And I am very, very excited to speak with you today, Patty. How are you doing?
Thanks, Mark. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate you being here. So, money can be an overwhelming topic for many, but you have a specific passion for empowering and educating women. Why is that?
Yes. Well, in my role as a financial advisor and then prior to that, a mortgage advisor, I had many conversations with ladies who kind of expressed a consistent theme, and that is overwhelm, fear, embarrassment. A lot of the times when they were married, if they were married, the husbands took care of the investing and the money and paying the bills and everything. And it just worked out fine because that's just what happened. And when something unfortunate happened, whether it be a divorce or passing of a spouse, they were left with not only the emotional trauma of, the death or the loss of that relationship, but the overwhelming feeling of, oh my gosh, now I got to manage this money on my own. And I have no idea what I'm doing and I don't know what to do. I don't even know where things are. I had some ladies come in and just didn't even know what their statements were. So my passion is really to educate and empower ladies with that financial confidence to help them bring that peace of mind. I also happen to be divorced, so I understand that journey and what that looks like and the challenges that kind of go along with that. And I just really have this desire to take those fears and that overwhelm away and the frustration and just create some badass money managers out there.
Well, I really admire that. I have a couple daughters and I have a mother, I have sisters, so I really admire that you are championing women's. And the
Thanks.
Badass Investing Roadmap. I took a look at your website. I'm digging that title, the Badass Investing Roadmap. That's awesome. Could you explain that? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Sure. So I have a course. It's called Minding Her Money, and one of the modules is Badass Investing, and it's about teaching ladies about the basics of investing. And so that roadmap is just some of the items that we cover within that program. And you can go on to the mindinghermoney.com and download that roadmap and take a look at that. But those are the steps that I would encourage ladies to follow and take when trying to get on track financially. Again, that's just one of the 9 modules, one of the 9 areas that I talk about. And money really is a very holistic conversation. I mean, I know your podcast is focused on our thoughts, and there's such a such a unspoken correlation to our money story, our money beliefs, our limiting beliefs around money, our relationship with money, and how we are doing in life financially. And the reality is, I'm sure you've heard this, and you've probably had guests, that talk about this, but 95% of our external reality is based off of our subconscious mind. And our subconscious mind is just our tape recorder from what we heard, growing up. So a lot of those limiting beliefs and those thoughts, they're not true. They're false stories. What is that? The fear acronym, false stories appearing real, or whatever that's the wrong letters. But the point is that you believe these, you believe these truths to be factual, and they're not. They're just somebody else's belief system. So once we get that understanding, and we understand the foundational piece of what's happening in our subconscious mind and how we relate to money, what our identity is with money, that's going to shift everything with our financial world. And the mechanics of money are actually very easy to teach. I can teach you about mutual funds and, exchange traded funds and index funds and what's a bond and all that, and how to invest, and, some of the mechanics. That is really, once you learn it and you know it, right? The mindset piece is the harder piece, because that takes some, unpacking, that takes some unraveling, and that takes some time. But most people just think about the mechanical piece, like, oh, I've got this money, I don't know what to do with it. And that's important for sure, but that's just one piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, that involves the inner work for the individual. So yes. And I want to touch on you talking about basically mirroring. We've mirrored what we've been told our entire lives, like money's bad. Or money, you hear all the concepts of money don't grow on trees. I can't afford that, and it is a mindset that you have to break free from. So how would you explain that to a typical client, how they need to break free from that, and what process that would entail?
Yeah. So the first step is to really bring an awareness to what those beliefs are for them. So every client's going to be different. Every person's going to be different. There's a lot of reflection into, okay, what did I hear growing up? So from birth to age 8, we were just the sponge with no filter, with no ability to say this was wrong or right. We couldn't say, Mom, Dad, this doesn't make any sense. You just took this in as your reality. So if you did hear, like you said, money doesn't grow on trees, we can't afford that. Rich people are greedy, money makes people crazy, or whatever it is that you heard, that's your belief system and your relationship with money. So those are very, very limiting beliefs. If you, on the other hand, grew up in a household where there was abundance versus scarcity mindset, and that money is everywhere, and money is energy, and money can be had, everywhere. It's like the ocean. You could just, there's a vast amount of water, there's a vast amount of money out there. And if you're open to the opportunities and the possibilities, you'll find yourself having more, opportunities come to you. So it is whatever you're resonating out, whatever energy you're putting out is what you're going to attract. You're like a magnet. So like you said, like a mirror. But the first stage really is to spend some time, and this can take some time really, to kind of dive deep into what their beliefs are. What is it that they heard? And then we start to poke holes in them. And when we show that those are false, those are not true, the process of unpacking that and slowly shifting, releasing those limiting beliefs from the subconscious mind, bringing them to the conscious mind, and then releasing them out, that's a long process. That doesn't happen overnight. You've had this programming for decades, and you're not going to just turn them off, with one day or within a month. It takes time. And once you have this, poking holes, and you realize that there's, these false realities, and then you realize that they're, BS, so to speak, you then can work towards reprogramming your mind to the reality of what is there. And that does take work, but it's a step, it's a process. And it's really important to just start with that awareness, and start with that they even exist, and to realize that those aren't true. These are false.
Yes. So what I'm hearing, you have a program on this, right? On your website about helping people with their situation.
So the
So
Minding Her Money is a program, and that's just, in fact, the one module is about the money mind piece. So
okay.
that's again one of the 9 pieces.
So you walk them through it in the program. You help them with their mindset about their
Yes.
relationship with the money.
Yes,
Okay.
we walk through that and we talk about that. And there's a lot of work to be done at home. There's a lot of
Yeah.
work that has to be done in your private
Hmm.
time. And, the reality is that this can happen. You can be going, you can have this list. And I do
Hmm.
definitely recommend that you write it out on paper. There's something powerful about putting from mind to paper
Yeah.
and start writing this list out of what you heard growing up. What is that limiting belief? What is, kind of percolating in that subconscious mind? And it might be that a month later, you're like, oh, wait a minute. I remember my dad saying this, or my mom saying that, or my teacher saying that. And you write that down. And then things are starting to come up, and that's a good sign. It shows that your
Yeah,
mind
you're
is
doing the
working, and
work.
you're
Yep.
and you're and you're releasing that stuff. So again, it's not
Right.
an overnight thing. It doesn't happen just in one
Yeah,
class.
no. It takes a lot of inner work. I get that. Um, what are some of the common financial challenges that women face specifically, and how can they overcome them?
I
Do you
would
have
say first and
anything?
foremost, yeah, I would say the most common, and this certainly is not a blanket statement because there's a lot of ladies that I've come in contact with who were very savvy and knew how to manage and invest, and it was not an issue. But I would have to say the majority of women that I spoke to, specifically ones that were single, whether it be divorced or widowed, there was a lot of lack of confidence, just a lack
Oh,
of knowing where to
yeah.
start. As I mentioned earlier, there was a lot of embarrassment and shame around it. And they
Hmm.
just didn't want to ask questions because they didn't want to look like they didn't know what they were doing. And
Hmm.
I think that it's important that we take that judgment away and we just release
Hmm.
that because that is just wrong. And
Right.
I always share, tell ladies that it's important to give yourself grace and that it's important to understand that you didn't learn this at home and you didn't learn this in school. So it's okay that you didn't, know this. And I'll share a little story on my part personally.
Okay.
So I was the one in my marriage who took care of the investing and the money. I was the one who was confident with investing. And my ex-husband didn't know how to invest or money. And so I just handled all the investing.
Hmm.
And I was very comfortable with it. Having said that, when I went through my divorce, um, there was a lot of emotional, distress. My son was
Yeah.
18 months old. There was overwhelm. I was, scared to death. There was so many emotions that were, fluttering about. And
Uh-huh.
I had this responsibility and desire to be at home with my son. So I didn't want to go back to my corporate finance world. And I made some bad choices. I made some bad decisions when it came to things with money.
Yeah.
And it was a combination of desperation that I needed to get caught up because, of course, with a divorce, you lose half your assets. And at the time, I
Yeah.
wasn't working anymore because I had my son. And I wanted to be an at-home mom with him until he went to school. So I was at a point where I was not creating any income. So there was a lot of money going out and nothing coming in. And so I wasn't thinking clearly. I was still emotionally charged and distraught with the divorce. So I made some poor decisions. And rather than beat myself up over it and go, oh gosh, Patty, you should have known better. You should be doing this. This is not a good choice. I
Hmm.
just gave myself grace and said, you know what, we're on this journey, and this is what I did, and let's just move on and let's just move forward. And I think that my point to that story is that for those that feel embarrassed or shame or judging themselves, you gotta just let that crap go. I mean, really,
Right.
just let that
Wow.
go.
Wow. What a backstory. I commend you. I mean, that's awesome. Let me see here.
Yeah, thank you.
What steps can women take pertaining to their mindset to help them on the road to financial independence?
So I think first and foremost is on realize that the mindset is just one piece of it. The mindset is definitely one important piece. It's
Hmm.
also important to get educated and understand the other pieces of your finances, your overall money house, so to speak, your financial house. And personal finances, it's online is extremely noisy and it's very hard to know and filter out what's right, what's wrong. So find someone that you like, someone that you trust, somebody that you can learn from. Take those baby steps. There's some fantastic books out there. Take the baby steps to learn everything. When it comes specifically to the mindset, like I'd mentioned earlier, it's important to really spend that time reflecting and come up with some of those false stories that you heard as a child. Begin to poke holes in them, realize that they're not true, and then reprogram. And start with this is a very simple exercise, but it's very powerful because you can almost feel the energy shift. Write down what ifs, such as what if my, whatever it is in your world, if it's a dream job, if it's starting your own company, if it's doing a nonprofit, whatever it is that's your, dream, what if that dream came true? What if I found my dream job and I made my, whatever income you want to make, and I was, completely financially free. I had time freedom. I was able to travel when I wanted. What would it feel like? What if I could, and just start to write all this out and visualize it and feel it and truly take that emotion in. You feel an energy shift. You feel like, oh my gosh, that just feels so good. And it's little baby steps like that will help you to, again, slowly move the Titanic, because it's like moving the Titanic, it's not going to happen quickly. It's going to happen very slowly. And then a couple months later, you'll look back and go, you know what? I'm looking at the world a little bit differently today, and this is pretty cool. So it's those little itty bitty baby steps.
Yeah, and that is part of a mind shift. That reminds me of Dr. Wayne Dyer of living in the end. Feeling, you got to have a feeling of it, visualize it, and live in your end. And you, like you said, writing it down, affirmations. Yeah, that's all good stuff in turning the ship around, as you say. So,
the big ship too.
Yeah. What are some common mistakes and misconceptions about women and money that you often encounter in your work?
Misconceptions. From the perspective of the ladies' perspective, if that's what we're addressing here, I think
this is about the ladies.
Yeah, I think it's really about them feeling like this is just too much. They don't have the bandwidth. They don't have the understanding. They'll never be good at this. Again, this is not a blanket statement. This is by far, because I've, again, run into many, many women who are extremely financially savvy and very good with their money. So it's not meant to be a blanket statement. I'm speaking to those that feel overwhelmed when it comes to money and just investing and not really knowing where to start. But you can absolutely, that's a false statement. I can, just like you can learn anything, you can follow a recipe in a cookbook. You can learn how to paint a picture. You can learn how to speak a language. You can, whatever it is that you want to do in life. You just need to learn it. That's all. You just got to be taught the right way by a good teacher, have it simplified, and then turn around and slowly implement that into your life. And I think that as you implement these baby steps and you do these baby steps, you're going to have that financial confidence, and you're going to realize, oh, this is not what I thought it was. This is actually easier than what I thought it was. And as I said earlier, the mechanics of money are not that complicated. They really aren't. It's just understanding them.
I got you. So do you believe there's a gender wealth gap?
I do. I mean, the reality is that, even today there was a study, 2023, that ladies earn 83% or 83 cents on the dollar that men earn in the same profession. And so unfortunately that is a reality still. The other struggle with that is, as women near retirement, because their income has been lower, through all their years. And then if they were stay-at-home moms for a period of time, that's going to affect their Social Security. The husband who earned more will have a higher balance. So if there's a death, of course there's spousal benefits, with that. But, they will, if you're single, you have less, single, never married, I should say, qualify that. You have less Social Security because you were out of work or you were, lower income. So you're playing a little bit of catch up when it comes to retirement, because you're coming into that, unless you're really prepared and you've, started saving early and investing early and we're very proactive with that. You're entering retirement, potentially, again, not a blanket statement, but potentially, behind your fellow man at the same age.
Right, right. So, does your programs or any of that offer tips and stuff on like how to negotiate like higher salaries for a woman or compensation packages, or having them have that mindset about going into their workforce with it as well?
I don't cover that piece. That is something that might come up in a one-on-one coaching session.
I got you.
But it's not really something that would be, it's taught, the entire course is sort of an overview of your financial house and the different pieces like your credit and your debts and creating a budget and getting your credit, cleaned up and organizing your life, your money story, self-care, tax strategies, retirement. I mean, some of those pieces. And then if you want to do a one-on-one coaching, then we can go into their particular situation and dive into what's happening in their world. But oftentimes I keep some of that stuff out of the general course because it isn't applicable to everybody.
Right. Do you offer investment strategies and stuff like that?
I will absolutely, the course does absolutely teach investment strategies. We talk about tax strategies. It's very education focused. Because I'm not a financial advisor anymore, I can't legally advise. I can't tell a client, oh, go put 20% of your assets into this fund and 10% into this fund.
Right.
But I talk about diversification. I talk about how you should kind of come into retirement or based on your age, based on your cash flow, based on what's happening in your world. This is what you should be looking at. Because that education is going to go farther than just a very specific, training like the gender gap conversation. But yes, in answer to your question, I absolutely educate and coach about investing strategies, simple definitions down to, what's a Roth conversion and why do you want to do that and why you don't want to do that potentially. And what is tax loss harvesting and what does that mean? Right. And how do you do that? And why would you do that? Exactly. So it's really education. So even if a individual decides that they want to hire a financial advisor, I don't replace an advisor. I'm a complement to an advisor. I teach things that the investor or the advisors typically don't talk about. I don't know many advisors. I don't really know any advisors actually that talk about the money story and your limiting beliefs, that go into depth about credit and that go into depth about, self-care. I mean, those aren't conversations. It's more like, let's take your assets, let's help them grow. And that's fantastic. I mean, that's what they should be doing. But I complement a financial advisor. So I don't advise. I will refer them to a client. I'll refer them to an advisor if that makes sense for that client. If they've got a more complicated situation and they really can't manage the monies themselves, they don't want to manage the monies themselves. And there's certainly a lot of individuals, men and women, who just don't want to, they don't have the bandwidth. They're too busy. They don't want to be worried about rebalancing and taking advantage of these strategies. And that's where an advisor should come in.
Yeah, and I think that's very important. And I think your program is very important because you're sitting there saying Roth IRA, and all. There's the average single mom out there, like you said, it's going through the divorce, that is up in the air about her finances and stuff, that, when all that's thrown out, even the crypto and all that, they don't know. So I believe like a program like yours would be helpful to them, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is basically walking them through the steps that will help them get back on track. The transformation is financial confidence, financial security. I want to help women not be worried about running out of money. Common theme is, am I going to have enough money to retire? I don't want to be a burden to my kids. How do I make sure that I'm going to be okay? I mean, those are the same things I've heard over and over again. So with this education, it helps them come out the other side with, you know what? I understand this stuff now. I'm confident enough. Yeah. And I know the questions to ask if I do hire an advisor. I know the questions to ask. And when they're talking to me about something, I know what they're saying. And I can then say, you know what? I don't like that idea. And here's why. Or, I love that idea. And I think that's, I agree with you. So this is also great material to teach, ladies who can then go into a meeting feeling more comfortable and confident. And then the other piece is, and I've witnessed this firsthand when I was an advisor, we'd have ladies in the meetings and I could tell by their facial expression, they didn't know what they were hearing. And I could tell they were not getting it. And I would say, did that make sense? And they would be like, not really. And I'd be, okay, let me reword it and see if we can get to that. So So a lot of women won't say, wait a minute, I don't know what you're saying. Stop and let me try to understand this. They'll just keep on listening. Whereas, I'd like them to walk in going, you know what? I don't get what you just said. And I need you to simplify this for me. And to have that confidence is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, to ask the questions, to bounce it back, so they do they'll get the understanding of it all.
Right.
Only a life lived in the service to others is worth living. Quote by Albert Einstein.
That's on my website.
Can you touch on that? Because
Yeah.
I see you as living that life. So,
Oh, well,
like
thank
I
you,
said,
Mark.
I really admire what you're doing.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's truly how I feel. At the end of the day, I want to make sure that my life was serving others. And I mean, to me, that's fulfilling. That's rewarding to me. I left a comfortable position as a financial advisor with benefits and income and all that stuff that comes with the job to launch my own financial coaching business for that reason. I just really want to make a bigger impact and just know that I've touched many lives, and I think, gosh, if I can teach 1,000 women this stuff, and then they can turn around and teach their kids, and then they can teach their kids or their loved ones. Just imagine the ripple effect in the world and how that would have with financial literacy and confidence and just feeling better, more in control of life. And if I could have even a small little dent in that, that would be, that's a beautiful thing. I mean, that really is, that's huge. And it came to the point when I was in my job where I thought, the fear of regret is greater than the fear of failure. I had more fear of looking back on my life and going, oh crap, I should have done that. Versus me doing it, and if it doesn't work, and I truly feel like it's absolutely going to just flourish because I know that in my heart, this is just needed. If I look back and go, oh, that didn't work, that's okay. Okay, fine. I'll do something else.
Well, I believe you're leaving a big mark on women. You're a champion of women in my eyes, and
oh, thank you.
I've read up on your stuff, and I think your stuff is great. And anyone out there listening to her, where can they check you out at, Patty? Get a hold of you. What are your details?
Yeah, so there's a couple of places. My main website is pattyhandy.com, and it's Patty with the I, Handy with the Y, so PATTIHANDY.com. If you go to the Minding Her Money tab at the top of the website, you'll be directed to a page where you can download the roadmap that you'd mentioned, the Badass Roadmap, and also the roadmap to the main program, all 9 areas that you should be focused on in terms of getting your house back in order. And then there's a short training video to watch. I know this is probably not timely because this is not going to be live, but I'm holding a masterclass next week, a free 5-day masterclass that I will be hosting again. I do plan on doing these more and more. So if you jump on and you download the roadmap, you'll be in my database. I'll ask for your email. And then when I do have these masterclasses come up, they're free. They're 5 days. They're packed full of great information. Then you'll get the announcement of when these are coming up, in the future. So a few ways to stay in touch with me.
Okay. Well, we'll try to get this show up before that happens. So hopefully we'll get you some traffic that way. So
yeah, that would be great. Yeah, so the website, just so you know, the masterclass is actually it's a different link. So the masterclass will be pattyhandy.com/masterclass, and masterclass is one word, and that's where you'll be able to sign up and register.
Okay, so as I said at the top of the show, ladies, this is for you. If you want a badass roadmap to financial independence, go talk to Patty Handy. Patty, I'm glad I got to speak to you, and it was an honor to have you on the show today.
Thank you.
I really do appreciate it, and I hope we can get you back on a few more times in the future.
Yeah, I would be happy. Thank you for having me, and it's a great conversation. I hope we can touch many, many lives.
Okay, and let's end it with whether you think you can or whether you think you can't. You're right.
You're right.
Exactly. Thank you for being on here today.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. If this video helped you out in any way, please make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification button so you can check out more videos just like these.